Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here. So, what I want to talk about, we were talking right before the recording about, um, uh, finding finding within us things that are out of alignment. And I want to talk about this process, and I'm going to slow it down and take it step by step because a lot of these things are happening to you, and you may be doing some of this already. Um, 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 uh, from an intuitive point, but I want to bring the process down to a halt, freeze frame it, slow it down so that we can see and understand the process we're going through. Giving the acceleration and the quickening and everything else moving so fast, and so many world events and so many external things that are created, it's all for our benefit, but they initially look terrifying. They look like they are, we get paralyzed with fear, we get frozen with apprehension, with anxiety, we get overwhelmed where we don't know what we should do, how we should go, and we have doubts. We have conversation. One moment we think it's one way, the next moment we think it's the other way. We have no clarity, and all of these things are happening to us. No matter how much you've isolated yourself into a bubble, the changes that are happening externally will reach you. You could be living in a cave, on a moat, be behind a moat, or isolating yourself on top of a mountain. You're going to be touched by the acceleration and the change, whether it is actual physical change, emotional change, atmospheric and climate change. Okay, things are going to reach you to cause you to have apprehension. Social, political, financial, all of these things are happening. I don't have to go through the whole list. You're very aware of all of this. What I want to talk about today, it's the process that we should be going through, or that I personally am going through as well, of self-assessment and trying to figure out exactly what's going on inside of me. Okay? So, for many of us, that self-assessment and that analysis of what's going on within is an important process, because and it can be changed by many things. Like yesterday, I'm going to give you a very specific example. Summit happened yesterday morning, processing grief and loss. I felt fantastic. It went well. All the speakers, the interaction, etc. I had a wonderful day. And I woke up this morning, I had a dream, a very intense dream. I won't get into the details. Many things were happening, and it was not completely negative. It was the outcome of the dream. There was a location I was trying to get to, and it seemed convoluted, a lot of driving and etc. But I finally got to it, and the owner of the property took me and a few of my students into a different room, space, and it looked like a warehouse. There were lots of stuff that had been clouded there, like, boxes and ladders and all kinds of stuff that were there. So he said, no, don't worry, this is not where we're meeting. We're meeting upstairs. And then I saw in the back of the warehouse, there were 2 spiral stairs. And we were and I was leaning on one of the spiral stairs, trying to climb up. He said, the upstairs is fantastic. It's unclotted, and this is where we're going. So it's all positive, right? And but I woke up nonetheless this morning, and there was when I did my normal practice, I listened to a very specific. I've been doing this for over 7 days now. This Lakshmi mantra that I've been, Shakti mantra, and then the Lakshmi mantra that I've been listening to. I did that. They are 10 minutes each. And then I did my prayer, my normal routine. And then I began to assess where I am energetically. I do that every day now, where I sit down and I begin to listen to myself. Okay? I begin to slowly and gradually take a very deep breath and let my awareness drop into my core, and I begin to listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in my body had ears. And as I listen and listen very closely, there was an unease, like I had belts or things that were tied around my lungs. Something was constricting me. Like I was, like it's very hard to explain into words, but something was holding. And I spent the rest of the time trying to not only query it, is this coming from me or is it coming from the outside? As I listened, I went in first. I didn't want to deny it, reject it and tries to suppress it further. Because right now, if you're suppressing and pushing anything out, you're doing it wrong. Because all of these parts that are showing up, that are being revealed, are there for our benefit. As I said before, the fear and the darkness that's within, it's actually a spiritual doorway in disguise. And if you can find a way to go into it and to listen to it and to witness it, a deep and profound secret of a misalignment or a false axis or false belief will reveal itself. And then you'll be able to unknot what was probably for multiple lifetimes had been knotted. So I went in and I sat with it, and as I query if it's not coming from the outside. And the reason you're asking this is because there's multiple things going. There are solar flares that are blasting off like nonstop. The solar system is moving to a different part of the Milky Way galaxy and cresting to cross the galactic equator. Therefore, there are all kinds of unusual and rare energies that are accelerating growth, and accelerating growth means a liquefaction or crystalline stage for us. The way that a caterpillar go to a crystalline stage where all of their cells liquefy before they get transformed into a butterfly. So, and it feels extremely uncomfortable. It's not pain that I was feeling. It was a discomfort. That's the right word. It's a discomfort. And as I sat with it, I asked, is it coming? Because it could be a solar flare. It could be something that's happening in the cosmos. It could be multiple things. It could be something in the news. It could be, because I'm a spiritual teacher, it could be something that I'm picking up from one of my students, the people that are in my charge, the people that I'm spiritually trying to guide. It could be something that has to do with your family, with your friends. There are multiple possibilities of what that sensation may represent. So it is up to you to assess it, because what is ascension? Ascension is all about an evolution in consciousness and an awareness into something else. That awareness can only grow by you being conscious, by asking questions and creating your own energy body. So I spend the time trying to figure out exactly what was in my core, what was the sensation. And when I realized it was not external, and I realized, okay, this is something that's in me. Is it an attack? No, it's not an attack. Is it emotional? Yes, it is emotional. And since it is emotional, I begin to say the Ho'oponopono to myself. Please forgive me. To that part of myself that I inside of me in my core where I felt the constriction and the discomfort, I sensed it, felt it, and I asked it for forgiveness. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. And I kept repeating this over and over again, over and over again, and over again. And it began to slowly unpack. I began to feel if it was a belt that somebody unbuckled it, it felt like it was opening up. It was opening up. It was opening up. Now, I don't have all the answers yet because I'm still going through the process, but I want to explain this to you because I want you to understand from my own personal experience how to proceed with these sensations. Because there are days where I am in clarity and I literally wake up and it's euphoric. I'm connected to light. Everything is wonderful. But there are days when it's not. And when it's not, I feel cheated. There's a part of me that's angry, that's upset. And I keep blaming myself. I keep saying to myself, what did I do wrong? What is it that I did not do that's causing me to have that discomfort in my core? Okay? And whereas, I'll be honest with you, sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. It's actually what the discomfort, as I said, again, is your teacher. It's for your benefit. It's there trying to reveal to you something that was suppressed, and the subconscious mind, the way Jung described it, he was saying that it's like an iceberg. What you see on top, which is the ego, the vast mass is submerged. There's an immense pool of stuff that needs to become conscious. And in the process of doing this, we're going to encounter all kinds of stuff. And for those of us who've been with a flashlight looking within, you would think, I thought I was done, but you're not done. And you're going to discover more stuff. And as you sit with it and query and ask questions and say, oh, no, it's going to open up. It's going to untie. It's going to untie. And you may get to a point like I am now. I'm at a point, having done this a few times today, because I had other things to do. I had to go out and do all this other stuff. And when I came back after lunch, I had another 15 minutes where I sat down and I went back into the same space again. And I was like, in other words, you can spread it out. You don't have to isolate an hour to do all of this, depending on your schedule. You can keep going back to it. Now, everything open up. Everything open up now. This doesn't mean that tomorrow it's not going to be there, because I've been there. I've had this before, where it shows up again the next day, and I keep going back doing the same thing, because what is behind it? The false belief or the emotion or the lesson or the secret that discomfort is trying to teach me may not be visible immediately. You have to revisit it sometime multiple times until it eventually opens up and reveal what that discomfort is about. And only your discipline and your returning back to the same place can help. There is no shortcut for that work. There is not one, it doesn't matter which tradition you're coming from, which spiritual practice you're doing, all of them require the same thing. That's self-assessment. All the teachers on the East, they just celebrated last week for 7 days in India. I forgot what it's called, Mana Shiva Shivavarati, I think it's called. I'm sure I misquoted the festival. It's the celebration of the first time that Shiva, who is the creative force of the universe, manifested on earth as a fully grown yogi. He came to earth almost like an alien, like a fully grown yogi, and brought all kind of spiritual knowledge to everyone on the planet. And one of the things with Shiva that was amazing is that initially, because he was so filled with light, he attracted a lot of people. And there was a huge crowd around him. But what he did is that he went in deep meditation. He eyes closed, he was in silence and in deep meditation, and he did not open his eyes for days, weeks, and months at a time. And the crowd eventually dispersed, and only 7 people remained. And these were the 7 disciples that he really taught 7 separate different branches of spirituality, of knowledge, and of Ayurvedic medicine. So, and why I'm saying this is that more and more we need to go within. Like Shiva, we need to have our eyes closed. And when I'm doing this, I have no music. I don't have a recording or guided meditation behind me. I am talking to my own, to myself, to my own inner power and higher power, because they are one and the same. I'm talking to myself, and I'm in stillness and in silence, and I'm doing this examination and I'm this query, and I'm trying to figure out what is it that I'm sensing, what is it that I'm perceiving, and what's in me and around me. And it's extremely, extremely helpful for me, because sometimes when I do the query, what actually comes up, it's solar flares. It's a purge. The solar flare is trying to detach and disconnect something that no longer serves. It's trying to pull it out from me. And if it's a solar flare, then I welcome it, and I ask the sun to do its job and to remove from me what no longer serves. Sometimes it's related to I'm empathing, and I'm picking up a struggle that a friend or a family member is going through. I'm empathing something else. Again, unless you're doing this kind of self-evaluation, you're gonna blame yourself and think that you're the one doing something wrong. Sometimes it's just a question of your consciousness because of a dream going to the wrong place. And the dream changed your mood and shifted something else in you that should not have been shifted. Ascension is about self-mastery. And that mastery is demonstrated by us assessing our energy bodies on a continual basis. What we want is conscious immortality. And for that to happen, we have to be in a continual process of self-assessment and self-examination. This is why I keep saying all the time, a lot of times people talk to me, I don't respond. I listen and I don't respond, because that's the way I'm able to, that the answer can come to me, by assessing and by evaluating. Any questions, any comments? So it's important that you understand this, because there are lots of times, and some of you're doing this already, and maybe you're not articulating something that you're intuitively doing that you or that you should be doing. But I want to make it clear that self-assessment, daily self-assessment, is extremely important. It could be 10 minutes in the morning, and in the evening, it could be another 15, 20 minutes. That's enough. Or it could be, if you have the time, 3 times a day, 10 minutes at a time. just to know what's going on within you. Or if you have on a weekend more time, you can spend an hour in that kind of state where you're basically dropping into that core and trying to figure out. And sometimes I go in, I'm so aligned and so connected. I don't need to do the torsion field. I don't need to do anything because it's already there. I want you to understand the opposite can be true as well. I don't want to paint a picture where everything is a struggle and it's the challenge all the time. Sometimes it's not a challenge. Sometimes it's the opposite. Yeah. I would actually awake and get up and start doing this assessment, and suddenly it's like everything's aligned, everything is wonderful. Sadie, I just muted you because there was some noise in the background. Unless you want to say something, you can unmute yourself. So when that's kind of, because there are times where it's a delight. I wake up and sometimes it can last for a week where everything is ease and flow and joy. Okay, and I can feel an incredible sense of blessings, and I'm literally like there's light in front of me, light in me, light behind me, light by my side, light on top of me, light below me, and everything is easy. But it's very jarring when you go from that and then the next day you wake up, all of a sudden there are all this tightness, there are all these discomforts, because you begin to think to yourself, how did I go from there into that space? But again, I have to retrain my consciousness to understand that going into that space is not a punishment. It's actually an opportunity for me to go deeper, to discover something else that I didn't know was even present, to figure out that some subconscious buried part of me, either from this life or past life, is now coming to the surface and is asking for my attention so that I can process it and bring it to light. I'll call you back. I'm in class now, okay? So, so the thing about it is that you have to understand that when this stuff is presented to you, you have to see it as an opportunity, because initially we're all human. We are taught from a very young age to stay away from discomfort, and if you put your hand on fire and it burns, you don't do that again. So there was a visceral reaction to go again when you're feeling this way, to go. I want to cover it up with a feel-good experience. What I'm saying is that before you even proceed with trying to substitute it with something else, sit with this energetic discomfort and see if it has a message for you, because there's always a message. It's trying to tell you something. There's a piece of knowledge, there's an understanding, an insight it's trying to communicate to you. And whatever that is, you need to seek it out, because things are moving so quickly. We have to have, and this, what I'm teaching you today is about spiritual agility, emotional and spiritual agility. Move through this on a daily basis and communicate. And when it's aligned, when everything is going wonderful, I have to do very little in terms of practice. Whether it is the Antara Sutra or whatever, the moment I try to do any of the practice, I start the process, not even 5 minutes in. Everything is already organized, everything is already there. I don't need to do anything anymore. When I try to do the torsion field, when this is going on, I can hear, I literally can hear the guardian alliance of light telling me the torsion field is already created. You don't need to continue, it's already there. Like I go to the fourth breath, the fifth guardian, the fourth guardian, and all of a sudden it's like it's already created. And at that point, it makes my practice shorter, but more to the point, I can use that alignment at that moment. I can use that alignment to share it with someone else that's in trouble. Because at that moment, I am blessed. And because at that moment, I am highly favored and blessed, I can, may the peace and the serenity and the light and love that I know pass on to you who's in need. If I have people on my prayer list, if I have friends and family members that are in need, I can pass that energy back to them. When I'm in discomfort like this, if I have to do a healing, which sometimes I have to do, I remember Dr. Stone saying, he could be funny sometimes. He said, being an ascended master is not, you're an ascended master when you have to do a healing for someone while you're having a fever or diarrhea. And if you can still be aligned and be able to do it, you're an ascended master. Now, if you're really bad, I don't recommend you do healing for anybody, but if I have a discomfort like this, I sometimes can transcend it by doing a torsion field and doing a few more practice where I open or do the universal breath and I release enough of it, where I feel a great sense of ease and release, and then I can do a healing for somebody. But if you're really sick and you have chills and you have a fever, don't recommend it. Don't do it. So there are moments, but when I'm in that kind of alignment, when I wake up and everything is, I literally feel like there's a column of light that's like a beacon that's shining inside of me. When I'm in that state, doing a healing for somebody becomes an act of joy. Because I can share that. It's about service. It's about us guiding others. And when I'm in that state, I can share it. I can give that joy. I can give that ease to someone else. I can project it into somebody else's life. And if I can share that, I can change and alter someone. Because when you're in that state, your entanglement with everybody else on the planet is very potent. And if you have permission from somebody, you can share it very quickly. Now, what I was feeling today was not pain. It was not suffering. It was not exactly fear. I want you to understand this. It's not fear. It's just discomfort. Like I have a band, like I have a girdle or something tight around my core. And I know sometimes some of you are feeling that as well. And whatever that discomfort is, just, again, breathe through it, go into it, and listen. And again, I queried it first. I asked, is it from the outside? Is it from me? Because, you never know. And then I asked, because it could be, as I said, solar flare, it could be multiple other external things that are happening around the planet. I could be empathing it from a family member, from a friend, for somebody that I love, one of my students, one of my clients. There are multiple things that it could be. And then I slowly, as I eliminate all these things, what had happened, and I knew it was emotional, it was connected to me. So I said the Ho'oponopono to it. Please forgive me, I love you, and I let go, over and over again. And it began to open up. It felt like it was releasing, it was releasing, it was releasing. And at some point, I went into the white space. We talked about this in previous classes. Where all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know where I go. It's like a snap. All of a sudden, I don't know where I go somewhere else. And then it's this vast, immense space. And it feels like I'm asleep or I'm disoriented. And this is where your ego is gone. Your awareness of you as of me as Pierre is gone, and I end up becoming a collective because it's so immense and so vast. Any questions? Any comments? I'm gonna go over it again. And I'm doing this for a reason, because I want this to become a habit for you. The self-assessment is extremely important. Because if the discomfort is not addressed, because again, the discomfort is not an enemy, it's trying to reveal to you a secret that was buried in your subconscious mind, that this quickening, this time we're living in, is trying to give you an opportunity to illumine, to bring light to. Whatever that discomfort is, don't judge it. You don't know exactly what it is. You need to converse with it, and you need to keep going back. One sitting may not be enough to open up. Like for me, it opened up, but it doesn't mean that tomorrow or the day after it's not going to be back. It did open up. Now I feel fantastic. I feel aligned. I am illumined from within. I'm fine. It happened about 2 hours ago, where all of a sudden everything opened up, right? And again, if you could see with your spiritual eyes what is happening around the planet, there are multiple parallel worlds that are overlapping each other, that are pulling upon our energy. There are all kinds of internal and energetic overlap that we're walking into. I live in New York City. It's a very tough grid to be in. Okay? And sometimes some of the things I'm feeling are not connected to me. They're connected to the collective unconscious of the city. They're connected to maybe what's happening in the nation. They're connected to maybe sometimes the discomfort can be so intense, and this is when I know what I was feeling was mild today. But sometimes it can be so intense that I know what I'm feeling. Energetically, my body is already aware of something. Because this is exactly what the process is. Energy doesn't lie. Okay? We are masters of self-deceit. The ego lies constantly. And this is why you constantly have doubts, and you're bouncing, is it this or is it that? We lie to ourselves all the time. And those are the deepest lie. But energy doesn't lie. And when you sit within yourself and you're feeling this discomfort, they are usually a landmark trying to tell you something. And the process of ascension, the process of you becoming illumined and becoming, after ascension is self-mastery, the process of that mastery is to converse with these landmarks, to see what they are. Now, there are times where I've gone in and I've conversed with the landmark where I realize it's something that has to do with the planet. Like the time I picked up a year ago or more, before that, on the Tonga volcano happened, I saw a tsunami. Initially, it was a huge tsunami, about 300 feet tall, waves that were coming in. Then, literally, the day it happened, that morning, I had a dream of the tsunami again, but this time, the water was up to my knee. And I was able to go into a building, come back, and everything, the water receded, everything was fine. I went to lunch with my friend Georgie that day. We met at 12 o'clock. I had lunch. By 1:30, 2 o'clock, I was back in my apartment. When I opened the computer, it was all over it. There was an underground volcano, and there were tsunami waves that were coming, tsunami warning that were coming all over that region, New Zealand, the coast, the Pacific coast of Australia, all the stuff was going on. I felt it initially, and then it came into a dream. Energy doesn't lie. It is us with all, and again, this is the grown-up stuff. It's not just you listening to my recordings. I'm trying to help you emancipate, to grow, to expand into a self-sufficient mode of assessing and examination of your own consciousness. You don't need my tapes. You don't need my recordings. You need to sit down in stillness, just like Shiva did. You need to examine yourself and try to assess, particularly when you go in that big volume, that immense space, what is happening around you? What are you feeling? You need to, because at that moment you're talking to God. Because God is a consciousness that's unlike anything that is manifested. This is why the Kabbalists call that space negative existence. It is a form of existence, but it's contrary to everything that we know. So that process can be extremely fruitful. You can grow and learn between now and 2027. If you're doing this, you're guaranteed to ascend. You're guaranteed to be one of the leaders, one of the beacons that's going to help humanity find its way into the new earth. I know the initial knee-jerk reaction when you have this discomfort is to cover them up with something else. Okay? Or to ask a celestial being to initially come in and take it out of you. And if you were to keep doing this, you're cheating yourself. Because this is your work. Asking a saint or holy or a saint master to come in or an angel to keep taking these things out from you is not for your benefit. You need to go within yourself. If in the process of the query you find out that you're being attacked, that's a different story. You can ask a celestial being, a higher being to help you. But a lot of times it's not an attack, particularly now. It's just energetic stuff, emotional stuff that we need to have mastery over and process. And asking for them to remove it, they temporarily can shift the energy. But if it's something you still need to learn, in a few days it will return back. And you need to go back and process it the right way. You need to heal it, and that healing process is your responsibility, it's your work.
Pierre?
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you remind me, when you're doing the query and you find something, let's say you picking it up from New York City, right? It's in a grid.
Yes.
Can you remind us what you do in that situation? Do you do anything about it?
Yes. Well, it depends on what I pick up, okay? Sometimes I pick up something that's in the grid, it's a forewarning. It's a prediction of some kind, something is about to happen. In this instance, I lean into it trying to understand what it is. Okay?
And if it's just like, you know, people grieving or something, just like a general.
If it's general stuff and things you don't need, it's a discomfort you're picking up from a friend or family member or somebody in the grid, you ask, the first thing that you have to say, you don't have my permission.
Right. So you would establish your boundaries.
You establish your boundary. You don't have my permission. And
Mhm.
if that doesn't work, try the universal breath. If still that doesn't work, then you need to call upon Archangel Michael or some other celestial being, and you will be inspired to know which one at that moment.
Mhm.
You're
Right.
talking energetically to yourself.
Right.
So you'll be inspired to know exactly who you should call to ask them to help you remove it. Because a lot of time for me, given the fact that I'm doing this, I'm guiding this, I'm creating this path,
Yeah.
it's typically something that I need to see that's going to happen, and I need to warn people about.
Right. You need to know.
I need to know it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can I jump in with a question here?
Sure.
I was reminded and taken yesterday in the meditation you did at the summit of the process of not resting when you think you have uncovered an issue in any particular place of discomfort or disharmony in the body. Not to rest there, but to continue asking why that is so until what felt like was the bottom ground level of the core, real core issue. And maybe the problem is that we don't always do that so that it comes back because the core is still there. It's like you haven't taken the root out, you've only clipped the leaves off or whatever. That was one thing I was taken, that struck me very strongly. The other question I wanted to ask is, do all places of discomfort or disharmony that you might feel in your body when you're examining self, do they all have a root in some issue, or are some of them just purely physical? Or do
Yes.
all physical things have a root in some issue?
As usual, Janice, you're brilliant and you're asking your question. Okay. The first part of your question about the need, the discovering of the need. So if it's emotional, if it's something emotional that you have inside of you, the emotion that you're experiencing is the lid. Okay? When you discover what the emotion is, it's a lid. Inside of the lid is something much deeper. There is a fear in you, or a need that this cover, let's say, for example, you're afraid you're going to lose something, lose your job or whatever. Inside that top lid is something else that if you go deeper into it, you are going to discover that there is a fear. This is why in the query, when we did in the summit yesterday, I had asked you to, and I do this to myself as well. If I discover the fear is the fear of losing my job, I actually go into my imagination and think, okay, if I lose my job, what would happen to me? I actually go into the worst case scenario. Because what it does to me is that it begins to demonstrate to me the core fear. So in my worst imagining, what would happen if that is completely gone? And whatever that is, I now ask, what is the emotional need that is behind it? And whatever that emotional need is, that's what I need to change. Okay? This is what I need to change. So the need is still going to be there, but I need to ask God for transcendence, the same way Chiron asked Zeus for transcendence. I need to ask God to fulfill that need without the fear. Did you see what I mean? It's a nuanced thing, but it's profound. The need is there at the very bottom. I told you one of the things that happened to me last year is that I had a fear of being homeless when I went down to the bottom. And when I went into that space, I'm not in that space now. I don't want you to think, I'm not in that space because I asked for the transcendence. And when I saw this, I said to myself, okay, this is where I am. I'm terrified. Help me. This is the worst part of it. I am having a dialogue, and there's a part of me inside of me that's afraid of this, that's terrified of it, that I'm going to be without shelter. So help me. I know intellectually it's a lie, but emotionally, my inside is like what do you call it? The Tasmanian devil spinning around, just like this kinetic thing that's spinning inside of me that's saying this.
Right.
And I need your help because abundance flow comes from you, not from the job. I'm going to say something here that may sound completely crazy, but it's a connection to what we did a week ago or a few weeks ago. Money and flow comes from God. And I'm going to go even further and tell you this. All the money in the world, the gold, the silver, the diamond, the rubies, the sapphires, all the precious thing, all the oil, all the stuff that we think makes people extremely wealthy, millionaire, multi-billionaires. And in fact, the money that Jeff Bezos has, that Steve Jobs, that Warren Buffett, and all the Saudi royal family have, belong to God. They don't belong to them. It's not their property. They simply are the custodian of that wealth momentarily. It's not theirs. Listen carefully to what I'm telling you. And it's not just on earth, it's the entire universe. And it's not just money. It's life force. It's knowledge. It's joy. It's happiness. It's everything. It's gifts. Every gift. It belongs to God. Everything belongs to God. And since God is in you, it belongs to you. You are not created to have lack ever. None of you are created to have lack. Lack of health is a lie. Lack of money is a lie. Lack of joy, it's all a lie. It's an illusion. And when you're asking for transcendence, that's what you're asking for. You're asking for the truth to be restored in you. So, second part to your question, I'm sorry I got excited for a minute.
I love it.
Second part of your question, as it relates directly, but it's connected to what I just said, to this idea that whatever discomfort that you feel in your body, is it always emotional, or is the physical thing had an emotional root? According to many teachers and many people that I know, all physical disease comes from the energetic or emotional body. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that physical intervention in medicine is not necessary. It means, though, that when you're addressing a physical condition, you must address it holistically, which is to understand the emotional underpinning and also physically address it as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that part is extremely important for us to understand. Because a lot of, and again, I am one of those energy healers and teachers who's always asking my student, you need to go see a doctor. Well, some of you already know this. I thought, you all know this. I'm always the one that's trying to help. Yes, there is an emotional, spiritual part. Yes, that's there. Where I can support you in this, but I'm not a doctor. You need to go see a doctor. So that they can support you on the other side of this. Because the moment it precipitates in the physical body, to get restoration to happen, it requires some physical support.
So does it follow then that in order to get free, to become free from it through medical interventions, you have to address the emotional trigger? So if the trigger remains, no matter how many wonderful doctors you go to, you won't be rid of the disease?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And I know plenty of examples of this. Okay? Mm. I've witnessed too many things. The people who have addressed the emotional underpinning, and I can think of one example that comes so clearly into my head. This woman changed her life and did all of this. After her health crisis happened, she got killed. And again, she did the emotional. I supported her emotionally. She did the work. She went to the doctor and did the physical. And then immediately she quit her job. She did a whole bunch of things that were completely different. She changed her life. And she's been in perfect health since then. And this is almost 15 years ago. To the people who did not do this, meaning they didn't address the emotional part, they didn't, or they did, because, well, you know the kind of work that I do. If I'm going to support you emotionally and you're going to have to do this work, you cannot put happy face on it. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to go in and look at some people don't have the kind of moral fiber or the kind of like internal psychological structure. They're too fragile. They can't go into the subconscious mind. They're too fragile. They're too fragile. And because of that fragility, whatever I suggest to them, and every time I bring the topic of what they should be addressing, their body language changes, and you can tell energetically they're not prepared. They don't want to hear it. They rather bury it, put it in the sand again. So maybe the disease is addressed physically for a while, and maybe they're going to be okay for a while, but I'm not surprised if a little point it'll resurface again. So you're absolutely right. The emotional and the misalignment, it's typically an incorrect conversation that you're having with yourself. You're believing yourself to be separated from that energy I was just talking about. You're outside of it. It's the gift that's coming from God. It's flow, it's abundance. It's about life itself. And and do not separate life from just breathing and think that money is not involved. Abundance and prosperity is directly connected to it. Nobody on earth that's a billionaire, that's rich, none of that money is theirs. They are just a temporary custodian of them. That money belongs to that. And by the way, that system that's giving all this is female. It's the divine feminine. The people in India knew this well. It's like Shmi, the goddess of abundance and flow. And she's directly connected to Shakti, which is Mother Earth, the earth energy, which is the consort of Shiva, the god masculine energy that descends to earth. And the Divine Mother has multiple facets. She's Shakti, she's Lakshmi, she's Kali, she's multiple things. So, to everyone tonight, I want you to understand that what I'm talking about in the self-assessment state, I want you to grow up. It's not about the recordings. It's not about you, which 10-10 exercise, which protocol, it's not about this. The intelligence for you to heal and to ascend exists inside of you. I am just a Sherpa. I'm just a guide. For all the work we've done, all of you here have been with me for over 10 years. For all the work that we've done for all these years. You have to remember that I'm the Sherpa, and you need to now spend more time having these inner conversations. The way I sent an email the other day, a month ago, less than a month ago, and I entitled it, "The Way Out is Within." Within you exists that inner intelligence that knows everything that you need to do. Now, most people would say, in terms of marketing, me as a spiritual teacher, saying this to your student, it's a terrible thing. No, from a God perspective, it's the right thing for me to say. Because right now, God needs all of you to be awake. Because the planet is in crisis. I will continue to guide you. I will continue to give you insights. But I need you to move in a different phase of your growth, where you become more self-sufficient and self-aware that a lot of these answers are within.
Yeah, can I?
Yes, please.
Another question. Thank you. I've just been thinking, as you referred to that white space, that place where there is nothing, you are not who you think you are nobody, you're kind of just part of the whole, you're part of the eternal field of infinite possibilities, I guess. If you were to do that and be in that space, wouldn't all of these issues are like carbuncles fall off from your being, the being that you've left behind, so to speak, because you can't carry them to this field of bliss, blissful nothingness, of emptiness? Wouldn't that be a cleansing, purifying transition to make?
Yes and no. Let me explain. When you're in that space, all the wrinkles are gone. Okay? Everything is gone. Because your entire identity is blown away and you're something else. But you're not going to remain in that space 100% of the time. You need to come back to Earth at some point. Unless you exit the planet at that very moment. Because when we exit the planet, we go through that space. Okay? So when you return back to Earth, you become human again. Those knotted areas that you did not completely resolve are still there.
Are still there. Okay, so you don't bring any of it back with you.
No, exactly. Now, sometimes, and this is where, and great question, by the way, Janice. You're really doing it today. So, here's the thing. Sometimes when you have an emotion, like I was telling you, the fear of being homeless was a big thing for me toward the middle of last year. And suddenly, when I went into that empty space, if you can, sometimes the crisis could be so big that you can, because I remember this crisis for me was so big. The belief, it was like a spin wheel. It was a spinning top. It was so big for me, I had to ask many of you to pray for me because I couldn't handle it. I was so overwhelmed, I couldn't get into that space. So this is where your community comes in to support you. But if you can get into that space, if you can manage to get into that space, you can then bring the fear, let's say the fear of being homeless, however it shows up for you, whatever it feels like energetically in you, and then you unburden yourself and give it to the fear. Meaning you inhale and you exhale and you say, like in the Catholic Church, they call it, you give it over to the Holy Spirit. You unburden yourself, you release it, like you're throwing a rock in a pool of light. You think of the problem and the issue. This is how Chiron becomes Sagittarius. You take this energy and you say, I'm giving it to you. This is a fear I have. I know it's irrational and it's emotionally wrecking me. It's too big for me. Take this cup away from me. Here. And you let it go. And to the degree that you can exhale and do universal breath enough to release it, it's to the degree that the feel, because what you've done, you took the initiative to shift, to become the alchemist, to shift the energy into somewhere else. You asked for transcendence. What did Chiron do when he couldn't heal himself? He asked Zeus for help. When you can ask for help and you say, I need transcendence because of this, and you're really sincere and you mean it, the moment you do this, the dynamic will change. God will not interfere in your affair because you're God too. The barnacle and everything else that you have, it's your responsibility to remove on your own. And if part of the removal process is to ask God for transcendence, each barnacle at a time. So when you're in that space, you can ask them, here is this issue I have, help me. I release it in your care because it's too big for me, I cannot handle it. It's in 12-step program, is step number 3. My addiction is beyond my control and too big for me. Therefore, God, help, or higher power, help me. I can't do it alone. Help me. Ask for help. And when you're in that white space, you do this. And if you do this, that burden will be removed. One less barnacle when you return back into normal 3D state. Does that make any sense, Janice?
Unfortunately, yes, I was hoping for the opposite. I still think that experiencing that white space might show in itself the truth of who you are.
Absolutely.
To make a difference when you do come back to your humanity, that you bring some of that truth with you to shed light on the failings that you see of the issues, the illusions, the holographic projections that you make in your life that you see are all false, and therefore that is a worthwhile experience and not just an escape measure.
It's by no means an escape. Don't misconstrue it. It's not an escape. It's actually the true, it's the essence of being. It's a true state. It's your true state of being.
Right, exactly.
And when you're in it, as I said, no thoughts, no burden, no fear, no idea, nothing. Okay? Everything just poof, disappear. When you return back, the afterglow is for hours, and sometimes for me now, days. Days. Where literally I'm so detached from everything else. But for that to happen, you have to sit in that space for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can't. This is not something that's going to happen by you spending 5 minutes in it or 3 minutes. You need to sit in it for a while, and then suddenly, the same way Shiva sat in deep meditation for hours, for days, and for months at a time. And when you return back, there's an afterglow. Everything is unknotted. Everything is beautiful. Everything flows in front of you like a magic carpet. No burden. And sometime I was using your barnacle analogy. Sometime when you bring an issue up, what happens is that the universe responds back to you in the most unexpected ways. Let's say it was a money issue. All of a sudden, somebody offers you something, or there's a piece of money, unexpected source of income that flows right in within hours or the next day. Unexpectedly, the exact sum that you needed. I have to share with you an experience I had, and this is where I'm telling you that money is something that I'm going to master. And I'm in the process of doing this. I'm going to master it completely. I had an experience. This is the beginning of last year. Sorry, no, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So we're talking about probably 2000. And I had a dream, and I saw in the dream a number. It was 25,000. I don't remember exactly. And I saw even the decimal, right? And I paid it no mind because it flashed into my mind. I'm like, okay, whatever that number is. And the next day, and I needed money to accomplish certain things. The next day, I had to go to the bank to deposit a check, or I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I went to the ATM. And when I went to the ATM, I put the card in, put my PIN number, etc., and I wanted to check to see how much money was there and how much I needed to deposit. I was making a deposit. Suddenly, my balance was the exact number with the decimal. Exact number. I freaked. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand what I'm talking about. I freaked so much that I thought it was a mistake. I'm like, if I accept this, the bank is going to come after me. They're going to arrest me for fraud. Blah, 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 blah. I freaked and I canceled the transaction. When I went back in, the balance was where it was supposed to be. I'm going to tell you something. If at that point I had accepted it, I said, thank you, universe. And I would withdraw. And when the universe is giving you a fortune out of nowhere for like this, you have to take it and you have at that moment withdraw something from it. $20, take $20 out of it so that you can physically claim it and put it in your pocket. Whether it's a pot of gold, whatever it is, you have to grab from it something and put it in your pocket. I'm telling you profound secrets that ancient magician knew that if you ask for a treasure from an angel and they're giving you a treasure and the treasure shows up from the ground and shows up to you, you have to pick something from it and grab it because this is the way you anchor it as yours. It was 25,000. I don't remember the middle, but the decimal was probably 43.43 something. The exact number. I'm trying to make you touch what is already in you, but that you're blinded to accept.
Mhm. Mhm.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Pierre. That's beautiful.
You're welcome. I never share this with anybody. I think I only share with Marjorie alone that next thing. I am, I'm telling you, and this is the part. This is why I got so scared. It was the exact number. Exact number. Having made that mistake once, I'm not going to make it twice. If that were to happen to me again. All the ancient books that talks about magicians, sorcerers getting treasures and all, they all said the same thing. When it comes, you need to pick something from it when you walk away from that location so that it will be yours. I had another healer friend of mine. Okay, same thing with him, $9,000. He took money from it and accepted it. No one from the bank ever knew. This was the universe deposit that money in his bank account. The universe deposited. It was not stolen money. It came from God because nobody owns money. Any questions, any comments?
Pierre, I'm thinking of what you're saying, and this is something that I've been saying with my house since I bought the house. That this house is not mine. It's God's house. I'm just in transition, and it has me trying maintaining this house for him. It's not mine. And you saying this right now, and for some reason I've been saying all this regarding every blessing that I get on my life. Okay? That's one thing. There's another aspect of that, is that when you're talking about that, when this thing manifests, you have to take something from it. I know what I'm gonna say. It's something that is. You remember the stories back home when they talk about that if the slaves, when they bury a treasure, the master killed them right there, and they did some kind of magic ceremony so they could be the guardian of the treasure. And the people that this treasure, they dream about them in their dream, and they tell them to go such and such place, and they go there and they found something. Sometimes it's a snake, sometimes it's something that they found. And people lose the money because they're afraid of whatever it is that they found.
Yep.
on that area.
Yep.
However, people who keep the money and is not afraid of whatever that they see in that area, the money rise up.
Yep.
And when the money rise up, they tell you to open it and take a couple of coins out of it.
Yep.
And that's how you go into keep the money. That's how that deep. Or if you walk away and you don't do anything, that money go back again down on the earth.
Yep. The same way it disappear when I put the card back in, I cancel the transaction. This is because okay, God is smart. God is not stupid. Okay, so if money is electronic now, that and you deserve to have it, God is going to give it to you electronically. And you're right about the animal that a lot of people would say they would see a cat or something. They would see a snake or
cat, a snake,
something. But the point about it, if you pet it, if
but
you
Pierre, whatever it is that person is saying, this is what they fear the most.
This is exactly right. This is at that point, what I fear the most was when I saw that money, I was going to get arrested for fraud.
Yeah.
This is what went through my mind. I can't. This is a mistake. Go inside, tell the bank manager, this is a mistake.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, thank you, God, I'm in need of money. Thank you so much. And accepting it.
This is a huge lesson today. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And the lesson is from these stories that you're hearing from generation to generation, passing on.
Yeah.
And you're thinking that it's a legend. This is a legend.
Yep.
Wow. Anyway, thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else before we pause for a break?
Yeah, I'm listening to the story very carefully because there's so much to that you could read into this, and the word responsibility, comes to me, and discernment, and since that is a gift, I was thinking if I was asked what gift would I like to have, I said I would ask for the gift of discernment. Because in a situation such as this, you would have to use that in order to make that right, right choice in that moment. Because I'm just saying that you have so many things that you're weighing in the split second that this is happening, that only discernment, true discernment, would have given you the right thing to do in that moment. And I'll just leave it there. Truly discernment and responsibility, because whatever state you're in, there's a action that is appropriate in that particular state of being. And our growth, as we move from one I'll just say one state of grace to another. The only thing that I ask for is that I act responsibly within that state by coming from the highest part of myself. As when you first started talking, and you were saying everything belongs to God, and it's true. I remembered the verse from the Psalms 50 when they said the cattle on 1,000 hills are mine. And it was like God was speaking to a particular person, and he said, if I was hungry, I wouldn't ask you because everything is mine.
Mm.
And it's true, everything does belong to source.
Mm.
And so in whatever experience you have, you I would say for my own self, my desire would be that I act in the highest integrity that I am aware of, that I do what is responsible in that particular space, because something that could be very appropriate in one instant may not be in another. So you would really have to ask for guidance, at all times, in whatever it is that you're choosing to do, that you're coming from a space of spiritual integrity.
Mm.
And the other part of that that chapter, that Psalm 50, it said that when it's the only thing that you can offer God is praise and glorification, and that as you order your own conversation aright, that God will show you salvation. And so I think it's always about, being in the right alignment. Just and coming from.
Yeah, Senator, you raised a really good point. If I could just make a comment, because while Pierre, you were talking about this mysterious sort of appearance of 25,000 was from God. It reminded me that in my job at work, there was a caregiver who received a payroll that was in error,
Mm.
and days later, they were attempting to make that correction to contact that person, and they said, "Did you receive, this great deal more than you were expecting?" And so on. She said, "Yes, but I thought it was from God." But in that sense, it was a genuine mistake.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there is some discernment that you were talking about, Sylvia, that I guess you do have to exercise to know what the right course of action is.
And
Well, I'm sorry.
Janice and Celia, I'll just say here a couple of things. First of all, Marjorie, thank you for your comments, and I'll just add to the treasure from back home when they see an animal or whatever. It's actually an angel in disguise. All these treasures have a guardian, and a lot of times, for example, the seraphims. The name seraphim means fiery serpent. When you see a seraphim in their true form, they look like a serpent. So a lot of time you're seeing things that are manifesting as an animal or whatever. They're not really animals. They are celestials that are taking a shape or form. Okay, so that's the first thing. The other thing as well I wanted to mention about that is that the fact that I had the exact dream and that exact number, and I went to the bank and I found that number there, tells me that it came from God. I doubt if this caregiver had a dream about that amount of money.
Right.
But the other thing, Celia, I understand what you're saying about discernment and what God put into your heart. But you also have to exercise wisdom.
Yeah.
yes, I would have taken some money, but the money that I would have taken, I would not withdraw the whole $25,000.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
would withdraw probably a $10 or $20
Yes.
in case that the bank come back to me and say
Yeah,
something,
absolutely.
and say something like, you know, um, the money that was there, but because I will withdraw with my conscience and what I know that I had in the bank previously.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's where like wisdom comes, and you're doing something that, you know, and then if it comes again, I go again to the bank and the money is there, then that's when I go to the bank and I reported it. If the bank cannot find it, then that's another story.
Marjorie, I'm going to give you an example of somebody else that I know. I won't reveal who the person is.
Mhm.
It was $9,000 that he got. Same thing. Went to the bank, saw it. This is money that he needed for very specific reason, spiritual purpose. He saw the money. He withdrew from it $40. The bank never came back to him and asked him for any money. Do not go back to the bank and tell them, report it to them and say blah, 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 and so on and so forth. They're going to take the money out.
Mm-hmm.
This is like you finding a gold, a pot of gold, and taking a few coins from it and calling the authorities and saying, I found a pot of gold there, does it belong to anyone? They're going to take it.
Yeah.
Well, that's using your discernment, and that's all I said.
Yeah.
Ask for that gift of discernment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And wisdom.
You're right.
Wisdom too.
You're right, Celidia, because at that moment I got scared.
Mhm.
I got really scared. I thought I was going to get arrested, blah, 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 and etc. And I canceled the session. I remember pushing the cancel. I literally was shaking because the dream came back to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to bring that information forward in the event that you were to go to your ATM, because right now, no one owns land and can walk down, where a pot of gold can come up from the ground. The universe is capable. God is capable of literally wiring that money in your account. I'm just letting you know.
Well, let's hope for that wonderful experience and
Yes,
pray that we use the right discernment
yes,
as it occurs.
yes. All right, let's take a 5-minute
I'm
break.
sorry. See, I'm gonna have to leave, okay?
Okay, no
I
problem.
cannot stay.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
5-minute break, and then we'll do a closing meditation.
Okay.
Oh, maybe we should play Lotto. That's even safer because then you don't have to be worried if the bank is going to find out or not.
Well, you can do that as well. Absolutely.
Right.
There are multiple ways in which the universe can bless you.
But
Absolutely.
you gotta be in it to win it, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm just reminded.
Yeah.
My father won a little bit. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to buy a car and pay for vacations.
Yes.
And a little extra.
Yeah.
That's another way where if you see it, you don't have to freak out.
So I want you to understand what I'm saying. It's not just about money. Because most people on the planet have a toxic relationship with money. We're all in poverty consciousness because we've been domesticated by the system in a certain way.
Yeah.
The kind of awareness I'm talking about is not just money. Because if you're toxic if you've been domesticated to believe in a certain way, and where you have to work hard and everything is a struggle, and this is the way you've been domesticated to believe, you don't have a pocket in your consciousness that will accept, like I did when that money showed up in my account, that will accept a gift from the universe or for anything else. And for that matter, if you cannot accept a cash gift, you cannot accept life force, because it's the same muscle. It's the same divine mother that's giving the gift of money, the gift of joy, the happiness. It's all the same to her.
Whatever you need.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So if you're toxic and you're in poverty consciousness with that, it will close the channel for all these other things that you're asking. So what I'm saying is that if we can restore a relationship to money and to prosperity and to abundance, and accept abundance in all form.
But you know, you're also so right, because as you were talking, I started to remember when I used to work when like a lunch was never offered, or I was with people when they didn't offer food or lunch for a long time, and I kind of got used to it. And then I found myself at the home where they offer lunch and I could have it. And would you believe I was too shy? I was too shy. I felt bad.
Yep.
And I didn't want to force myself. And I knew it was my fault. So I didn't blame them. But I was like, I realized that, and I had to, but I didn't want to push through fear. I had to give it time. Sometimes these things, you become conscious, and then you have to give it some time, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you stick with it, eventually you will give.
Absolutely.
And interesting enough, it took me a while. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah. All right, let's take us 5 minutes, and then we'll have our closing meditation. 5 minutes, everyone.
And then I thought, you know, I'm gonna pay it back. But then I realized, no, I was offered the lunch. I should use that money. I should just use it. There is no need for me to pay it back, because it wasn't a lot of money. You know, I was being frugal. So I took I gathered the courage. I booked it in a ledger as money spent for lunch. And I did once. The next month I did it again. And sometimes it's just practice like that.
Yeah.
It takes time and it takes practice.
Yeah.
But eventually, little by little, you become comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And through practice, sometimes you realize, you know, no, it's okay. And nobody's angry and nobody's upset, you know. So, and it's a funny thing. I would never think, if you ask me, I would be like, no, I'm not the kind of person. But then when the push came to shove, I realized, oh, I was afraid.
Yep.
Oh, I was too shy, you
Yeah.
know. So sometimes these things must be suppressed from way from the past.
Yes.
Old something beliefs.
Okay. We only have 15 minutes left. Let's do a closing meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your entire awareness emanate from the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. Oh. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Become aware of any sensations, perceptions, feelings that may exist in your core. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. and notice what you noticed. Listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Become aware of any discomfort that may exist in you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And without judgment. Listen to the discomfort. Just keep breathing deeply and slowly. Is this coming from me or from the outside? What am I feeling? As I sink deeply into this part of my being, please forgive me. I love you and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Realize that the discomfort is releasing, is opening. As you keep breathing in deeply and slowly. And let that part of your body tell you the secret that it holds. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, Celia. You're welcome. Any last minute comments before we close?
Just wanted to thank you again. The meditation brief tonight still led me to the same issue that I thought I had released yesterday. So that means there's more to release or more to uncover.
Yes. The dialogue must continue. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Which is a good thing. I told you these things that they don't happen in one sitting. It takes, several, you have to keep going at it, and eventually it opens up, and then there's a huge release. I quoted it yesterday. Joseph Campbell has this beautiful saying: the cave that you're afraid to go in holds the treasure that you're seeking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And in it, you will find illumination. The moment it finally opens up, there's a deep secret and insight, because a lot of times these issues, they have tributary emotion. You may have found one leg. It's like a tree that have multiple roots or extensive root system. You may have found one thing, and there are multiple contributing things to it.
I will do that. Thank you.
Enjoy, because at the end of it, the healing is going to be powerful for you. I can tell you that. Enjoy. All right, everyone. I want to thank you all for listening to me. If you're listening to us on Patreon, I would thank you for your support. Please like this video on YouTube. subscribe to the channel, share this video to increase the algorithm. I appreciate you deeply. Thank you, everyone, and I'll talk to you next week. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Good night.